So there's, speaking of change, there's a lot of change that's happened with the 49er coaching staff. Obviously, the biggest one being Mike McDaniel getting the head coaching job over in Miami. Proud of him, kudos to him. Hightower, the special teams coach, is now the special teams coach in Chicago. Also, the tight ends coach was let go of or forced to quit, whatever you want to, however you want to take that. And then Anthony Lynn was brought in to be, the run game coordinator / assistant head coach / maybe offensive coordinator. So a lot of changes, some obviously due to coaches getting better opportunities elsewhere, and then some internal hires. Now, one thing that's interesting to me, Randon, is most of the times this isn't the first time we've seen coaches leave. A lot of, obviously last year Saleh left and, took some coaches with him. But this is the first time that the 49ers, I've noticed, brought in an external hire. Usually they just elevate from within the organization. So let's talk first about how do you feel about the coaches that have left and how you feel like that's going to affect the team, and then also what you believe about the coaches that have come in, and how you feel like they're going to impact the team.
Yeah, like I don't know how the Niners felt about it, but I see the tight ends coach Embry thing. His head coaching title went to Lynn, and maybe that head coach or assistant head coach title grants you more money. They felt like Lynn was a better opportunity to them. Like they already had that in the works. Who knows what the behind the scenes was, but 60% pay drop is quite a bit. So I don't blame Embry for saying, hey, I'll take my chances. My record speaks for itself. You have an all pro and Kittle because of me and my efforts and all that kind of stuff like that. McDaniel, hey, take that head coaching job, take that chance. It's a little bit of a toxic environment over there. I'm sure he did his due diligence.
Just a little bit.
But, you got to feel like, it was two decisions. Like one, he might've been like, hey, like I just became an offensive coordinator, had a really good season. They saw what the run game did with, a rookie running back. And now I'm going to be able to go over here and do my thing and all this kind of stuff. And so like he just took that chance, or he could have gambled on having the Trey Lance offense be better. And maybe there's always head coaching jobs every season and he would have got that chance next year. But, you never know how that market works. And, maybe, D'Amico Ryans was up for one and he pulled out. I'm sure, Brian Flores should have another option. Lovie Smith now is probably coaching for the Texans. Like, so who knows? Maybe he just said, hey, you know what? Like this might be my only shot. I'm going to take my chance. And, good for the Niners to, one, promoting these guys within, and promoting two minority coaches in Saleh and McDaniel to other teams and having that work through the ranks. And D'Amico Ryans will probably be the next one. And I'm sure Anthony Lynn, even though he had a head coaching job before this, will probably get another one after his stint with the Niners. So it's definitely something that's interesting. And I feel like, I don't know if I would say better, but I think at least the weight scale of McDaniel and Anthony Lynn are probably equal. And we'll go over Anthony Lynn's resume here in a bit. The tight ends coach, I didn't really know much about him, so I can't really speak on that. I'm not going to speak on things I don't really know too much about his resume and what he brings to the locker room and all that kind of.
Yeah, you just know just based off of the tight ends that we have. Obviously, Kittle being a 5th round draft pick and turning into what he's become for the team. How much of that is the coach? How much of that is the right type of athlete? It's probably a combination of both. Obviously, if you get a guy like Kittle, it's going to make you look like a really good coach. But he's done well with guys like Ross Dwelley and what is it? Is it Hockett? Or he's had some other guys that have come in and played well decently. So I mean, I think he's well liked with the organization as far as like with the players. I know Kittle's really high on him, but it might have, like you just said, obviously when you're bringing in a guy like Anthony Lynn, who is a former coach, that the money is only so much that could, go around. So it probably was a little bit of that, but yeah, I mean,
maybe Lynn said he'd only come in if he had the title of assistant head coach and you only have a certain amount of those to hand around. So how do you feel about the McDaniel thing, since you asked me, and then why don't you start with what you think Anthony Lynn brings to the team?
Yeah, so I mean, with McDaniel, obviously, I think you have to take it. It's interesting because usually when you're underneath a somebody who's deemed an offensive genius, like a Kyle Shanahan, it gets kind of tough being the coordinator underneath to get a head coaching job. You're seeing that in Kansas City with Eric Bieniemy under Andy Reid. The question is always, is it Bieniemy or is it more Andy Reid, right? You just saw it, I think, with Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich. You know, he was supposedly going to be the coach of the Jaguars. That ended up not working out. And, you know, Brian Daboll just got a head coaching position, but he had been kind of somebody that was mentioned in multiple head coaching cycles. So I think it was kind of like McDaniel striking when the iron was hot. His name was out there. It's a little bit of a weird coaching cycle with what's going on with Brian Flores and just all of the negativity around the NFL when it comes to coaches as well. So more power to him. As far as how well he's going to do, I think he's a smart guy. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan loved him and brought him along with him everywhere he went. It's going to be interesting though because he didn't have much responsibilities, I guess, with the 49ers. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan was the main play caller, and he really just let Mike McDaniel focus on the run game, which was good, but not great. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the best running game that the 49ers have had. So it's going to be interesting. I look at Anthony Lynn, and he's somebody who I respect a lot. I think everything that you hear about him, he's a man's man. He's a great leader of men. He's a player's coach. Seems like he does really well in the locker room. One thing, he's had epic running games underneath him whenever he's an offensive coordinator or a head coach. The thing that I'm most intrigued about him is what he was able to do with Justin Herbert. In that 1 year he was coaching him. I think with Trey Lance being someone who I think has similar attributes to a Justin Herbert as far as his mobility and his arm strength, it's going to be nice to see him and what he can do if he gets a chance to really work with him. I'm not quite sure how they're divvying up offensive duties. But the thing that most intrigued me, Randon, and I want to get your take on this, is 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, I would never expect Kyle Shanahan to bring in another personality and another, I guess, type of energy and offensive, like somebody who's been a head coach before, bring him into his coaching regime as far as giving up that kind of maybe respect level or aura, like I always want him. It always seemed like he would want people more that weren't on the same level as him as far as respect, right? And it's interesting to me to see that he'd bring in somebody like Anthony Lynn, who has had success in the league in multiple places. I wonder what that means as far as what Kyle Shanahan's looking at when he's reflecting upon himself. Personally, Kyle Shanahan has had trouble in the fourth quarters when it comes to playoff games with the offense being able to score. And I wonder if this is him kind of reaching out for help to say, maybe if I get another guy in here that has had some success, maybe that can help out some of the weaknesses that I have. I think that was a big deal to me, which I really liked about the move.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting take, and I think it's a good one. Maybe it's growth with Kyle Shanahan. The extension shows that the team is his, right? And so bringing in another guy who is well respected, and I think he will delegate that. Like, hey, you have, I mean, the quarterbacks that he's been responsible for, like you look at, some running style quarterbacks were Geno Smith and Tyrod Taylor. Now they weren't world beaters, but they had over 500 rushing yards. So how do you balance a rushing quarterback in this league? So that he has experience with that, and obviously you said Herbert is showing like his trajectory. So maybe he's bringing in a guy that is well respected, all this kind of things to not mold Lance, but to kind of shoulder that responsibility of Lance being in his first full year and doing all those things, and while Kyle is still the head coach, right? And so he has head coach responsibilities in the mid game. When the defense is on the field, he's got to still look and do all those things. And so maybe relying on Lynn, somebody who has been there, done that, been a head coach in the league, worked with multiple quarterbacks, And then you're losing that run game in McDaniel, and you're gaining, I believe, a better run game or a better run coordinator who's somebody who has a more of a proven track record in Lynn. I mean, I really like it. And so you look at Lynn was a backup running back for the Niners, but mainly was a special teams guy, won 2 championships for with the Broncos. Not going to get many running chances with Terrell Davis on the field. Right. But, he learned under, Mike Shanahan. So he has that kind of grasp of that running game. And then he's been in multiple spots. Let me kind of run some of this off. So with the, Fred Taylor, 1,500, 1,200 yard seasons, both seasons with the Cowboys, he had Julius Jones and Marion Barber III combined for over 1,400 yards. He had Lewis in Cleveland, Jamal Lewis, I believe, 1,300 and over 1,000. Thomas Jones, 1,400. LaDainian Tomlinson and Sean Green combined for 1,600. Then Green by himself, 1,200, 1,000. Ivory and Powell, 1,500. Ivory and Chris Johnson, 1,400. LaShawn McCoy, 1,267. And then Melvin Gordon and Eckler, every year that he was there was a top 11 offense. Right. So, top 11 offense. So, it's something that he's always been successful with the run game. He's been with destinations where it's been one guy carrying the bell. It's been in destinations where he's had 2 different guys counterplaying off each other. So he has a lot of experience with both. And so I think those kind of things are really going to be something that carries this team. And I think the weight in the locker room of having another guy that is a proven guy in the league or has a lot longer tenure shows growth in Kyle. When you promote somebody within, you're always above them, right? And so you could say that Anthony Lynn has had or you could at least argue the track record for both and what they've done in respective. I mean, obviously Shanahan's been an offensive coordinator, and so maybe you weigh that over running backs coach or assistant head coach. You can argue that, but to bring in a guy that has that track record to be another voice, and then I think if he relies on him to shoulder that load on bringing in, Trey Lance's first year, and then I think it's a no-brainer for Anthony Lynn, right? All signs point to this team being a winning team next year. The offense is going to be great, and you might get another opportunity to head coach in this league. Last year he was the running coordinator and offensive coordinator for the Lions. You're not going to get much pub doing that, but for the Niners, you're going to probably be on another 5 highlight games. Most likely we make the playoffs. You're going to put your name out there. So it also doubles down for his career as well.
It's going to be interesting as well. I mean, I think him and Shanahan have a very good relationship together. I think they've coached together in multiple places, as well as just when Shanahan was younger. Seems like Lynn was more of like a big brother to him in multiple destinations. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the running back room, Brandon. You did talk about that Lynn has dealt with multiple different tandems or just had that one guy. But he usually has had a running back that is a dual threat with his running ability plus catching out of the backfield. And I don't know if any of the running backs that are currently on the roster with the 49ers have at least shown in the NFL that prowess to catch the ball out of the backfield. So I wonder if there's going to be kind of like an overhaul in the running back room. Obviously, you would imagine Elijah Mitchell is still going to be the number one. Trey Sermon's still going to be there, who at least in college has shown the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. But let's see how much run he actually gets. He didn't get too much this season. But I wonder if they're going to be bringing in a lot of new running backs who fit more of the Anthony Lynn mold to have that dual threat. What do you think about that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you also had guys that were, great at pass catching. You had guys that were okay at pass catching. And I think Elijah Mitchell actually, as the season got on, right, to learn this playbook, get thrusted in the Lions game, and then in the beginning of the season, he was running into the offensive line a lot. And then as the season grew, he was hitting holes better. And then during the playoffs, you saw him catch a few, so maybe his game is progressing and growing as the season goes along. And just as the OTAs will be pivotal for Trey Lance, they're going to be pivotal for Elijah Mitchell as a second-year pro to take that next level within the offense. And then will his game take that next level? If I were him, I'd be trying to hit up Trey Lance and go to that gathering that he's planning with all the wide receivers and say, hey, I want to go out there and catch passes with you guys. I want to get out there and work. And so it'll be interesting. Now, will they bring in a free agent? Will they bring in a free agent to be a pass catcher if they need it, like a typical third down back? I don't know. Will they continue running the Debo wide back scenario where he's that third back? Because we saw him catch a pass out of the backfield as the season went on. Right. So maybe Debo's that guy. Like, I don't know how they feel about it. I'm sure there'll be plenty of discussions, but you do make an interesting point. Like, where do they see those pieces fit? I kind of like the fact when a back can do it all, or is at least allowed to try. You see Derrick Henry gets 20 something catches a year because he's generally wide open because nobody covers him out of the backfield. And so maybe they just need to take those chances more, and Trey Lance needs to look for those more. We'll see how that works out. But it'll definitely be interesting, and I'm excited for this run game. Also, with Kyle, every year he's gotten progressively more diverse in his run game, running power, counter options, wide, in interior zone and all that. And it's been diagnosed based on opponent. I'm interested to see what Lynn thinks about it, and maybe he'll add his wrinkle to it as well, especially having coached multiple running quarterbacks before, and how he views the running game, how they view how much they want Trey Lance to run or be a part of the scheme. If you were to guess, how many rushing yards will Trey Lance have next season, and do they do a lot of design runs based on the hire of Anthony Lynn?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I would look to it to be similar to how he utilized Justin Herbert, because I feel like they're similar builds. They're both kind of durable type quarterbacks, that they're big. They're not slender, and but I would hope that it wouldn't be like a run first type quarterback. You want him to use the arm, but I mean, if he doesn't get at least 500 yards, I think that would be my over under would be 450, let's say. And I think he would be over that 450 just because you're talking about 17 games, full starter, just off of the scrambling alone. You think he could get at least 30 or 40 yards per game. So
yeah, Herbert's got around 200 and 300 in his first 2 years. And so,
right.
And that's, I think, comes with a lot of the vertical passing game, getting yourself out of the pocket. All the defenders are downfield. You can scamper for 10 yards here and there. I agree with you. I think that's about right. I would say about 450 to 500 is what I would expect from Trey Lance next year.
Right. Yeah, I would expect him just through scrambling to get, 30, 40 yards a game, which would put him, well over 400. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. Do you think that there's going to be more coaches that are coming into this regime?
We haven't hired a special teams coach yet, have we?
So there's definitely going to be a special teams coach, and I think people are wondering because we got to see who Mike McDaniel takes with him, right? Mm-hmm. Does he take the quarterback coach with him, who I think is Scangarelli right now? So if maybe Scangarelli goes with Mike McDaniel, do they bring in another quarterbacks coach? So there's definitely going to be at least the special teams coach to come in, but maybe more depending on who goes. One thing that's big, Kocurek, is his contract is up. So they need to do everything that they can to bring him back, because I think what he's done with the defensive line, he should just get a blank check from the 49ers and, decide, what do you want your salary to be? That's what we'll pay you because you need to come back.
Executive vice president of kicking ass. I think that's right there. And you're looking at, this has been floated around a couple times. It's like, how do you make your star quarterback or your quarterback of the future the most comfortable? And he's worked with a lot of quarterback coaches, and I don't know what the salary of those quarterback coaches. I don't know how many people pay him a year to be that coach. So who knows? It may be not worth it for that quarterback coach to have his freedom. But what if you bring in Avery, which that's the last name of his quarterback coach, I believe. What if we bring in Avery and have him be his quarterback coach? To where he's comfortable with that guy. He can work on his mechanics all the time. You have Anthony Lynn, who has been in the league, and really just kind of create this entire environment to blossom under as in his first year as a starter.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I know a lot of, I think Eric Crocker is starting the trend to get the quarterback coach from Houston. I think his first name's Pep. I don't know his last name, but
yeah, I've seen that around too.
Yeah, so that might be it. It's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, fun time with the offseason to see what the team's going to look like. But let's move on.